I'd like to say good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
We are still in the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 15 is where we're at. We're about halfway through that one, and we'll pick up there.
We finished that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. We're 16.
Well, then I didn't study 16, so but we'll go on anyway. Yeah, well, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. We'll go on to 16. That's okay. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Matthew chapter 16 then. I told some of them I went over last night over to the Bentree Church, and every other Tuesday night they have they call it the round table, whatever. They just sit around and they usually have a topic and they talk about it, and it's pretty interesting last night. And I know John's went over, Greg's went over some, and it was pretty interesting. Chris usually is the one leading it. And he asked him to pick a character out of the Bible that you can relate to, and the reasons why. And it was they put a little thought into it, some of them, and it was a pretty good study in how the characteristics change and when we change, and pretty good little Bible study. And I know I spoke with Lorentha and Greg about trying to do something similar to that here on a different night. And besides just our regular Wednesday night study and stuff, maybe doing a once a month or something and Lorentha said she'd like to see something maybe started like that for the women.
Thursday night, I was supposed to announce that too.
Oh.
Thursday morning at 10 o'clock.
Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, the women's.
Thursday coming up, not tomorrow, next Thursday.
Next Thursday, okay. I know she had talked about wanting to have a group, have the women to come together and do a little group Bible study and talk about other things as well. And I have been thinking about doing the same thing, maybe on even a Tuesday night like they do, but do it on the off nights. They do it every other Tuesday. Maybe we'll do it one on the other Tuesdays and have them come sit in ours. I just been thinking about it. Y'all be praying about it, and it's a lot less formal. It's just everybody talks and everybody takes a part, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed that last night. Matthew chapter 16. Here says the Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, tempting to desire him that he would show them a sign from heaven. Now, when there's a lot of people in Jesus' time that I always say that like to come along for the show. They wanted to see Jesus perform miracles, and they wanted to see the things that he did. I think a lot of the crowd came along to see that. There was a lot that came along because they needed healing or they needed something in their life that's missing. And we have a lot of that still today. We have so many people that I feel that have something that's missing in their lives, and they're searching and they're looking for that. Sometimes it's in the things of this world. They want a new car, and then when they get it, it doesn't satisfy them, or a bigger home, and that doesn't satisfy them. What they're looking for is what they need is Jesus. And that's the reason why it's so important that we go out and talk to people and tell them about him and try to draw them into the church and invite them in. But here is the religious leaders of the time. They're wanting to show Jesus up and those around him that he's false by asking him to show them a sign from heaven. So he answered and he said unto them, when it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red. And lowering, and O ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the time? People have sayings about the weather and how to determine it, and of course right now we know that the season is changing, much cooler. I guess tomorrow there's the first frost warnings is out for tomorrow. It's going to be cold. I might have to break out a light jacket, Larry, and start wearing one. I know it's going to take a lot for you to break out a jacket. Larry's one of those warm-blooded type people there. I don't think he ever gets cold. But Jesus is telling them, here you can read all this, you know the sayings, you can see what all of this is about, but yet you can't determine what is going on around them. And it's so true even today. We see all of the signs of the seasons. We see, and even in further over in Matthew, when his disciples came to him and asked him about the signs of his returning. And we've known about that for 2,000 years because he's told us so. But yet people still does not seem to understand and comprehend how close the end of his return is right at hand. O ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the time. A wicked and adulterous generations, seek after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. What do you think he meant by the sign of the prophets Jonah? Jonah, of course, we know the story of Jonah. Even as kids, we hear about him being swallowed and being taken up by a whale or a great fish. It's called, but the sign of it was when God wanted him to do something and he ran from him. He got his attention. But because he didn't want to go into Nineveh, that great city, and to preach because they were the enemies of the Israelites, of God's people. They were the enemy. Nobody wants to go into the enemy city and start preaching against them. That would probably get you killed pretty quick, wouldn't it? But instead, when God told him to do so, in my thinking of the Bible, God had already prepared their hearts and their minds to be ready to accept the message. Jonah went in and told him, said, look, God's going to destroy you if you don't change your ways, pretty much is what it was. Repent. Repent is what he preached. And what happened? It said, even from the king all the way down to the animals, put on sackcloth and ashes. That's a sign of deep remorse. That is, and they repented, and it changed God's mind of destroying them. He has the same message for us today. Repent and change of your ways, because we're all going to leave this world in one of two ways. Either through death or by Christ's return. And when that happens, we're all going to stand before the righteous judge and be judged of the things that we do. Repent and prepare and be ready. That was the message of Jonah. But Jesus left them. Can you imagine what they were thinking? And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. They left and went on a journey and to get away from the crowd and away from the people. And traveling, they forgot to take something to eat. Then Jesus said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. He was warning them of what the Sadducees and the Pharisees was trying to tempt him of. Beware of it. And he'll go on to explain it here in a little bit. But his disciples here, and they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have taken no bread. You see, they were thinking of physical things and not of the spiritual things. Now, when Jesus perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves, because ye have brought no bread? Do ye not yet understand, neither remember the 5 loaves and the 5,000s, and how many baskets ye take up? Neither the 7 loaves and the 4,000, and how many baskets ye take up? The 2 different feedings. One which you studied last time, and one was a little bit before that. See, they were concerned about getting something to eat. Some of them was there when he turned the water into wine. They were there when he fed all of those thousands. Why would you think they were concerned about eating? They were there when they went through the fields on the Sabbath and got the wheat and stuff and ate it, which they wasn't supposed to do according to tradition. But Jesus said it's not what went into the belly that filed, but that come out of it. That was also in the last chapter.
Do you ever get, I was thinking about myself, do you ever get sidetracked there what God's trying to tell you about what's going on around you?
Absolutely.
That's what I get like that sometimes. And then I have to repent. Lord, listen.
Yeah, because what happens in our lives, and I know that it's true about mine, is I have plans of things I'd like to do and I want to do. But sometimes my desires doesn't line up with what God's plan is. And when that happens, you're supposed to, but sometimes we don't do that though, do we?
That's right.
We're supposed to.
That's being disobedient.
And sometimes we got to take a whipping for that too, don't we?
Yeah.
When we disobeyed our parents, we got a whipping for it.
Yeah.
When you disobey God, you're going to get a whipping for it.
And that would be worse than what Mom or Dad gave children.
Oh, yeah. But we sometimes mess it up, and then we have to ask God for help to straighten things back up because we didn't go along with his plan or what he may have in our lives to do. But he's asking them, do you not remember these things? How is it that ye do not understand that I speak it not to you concerning bread, but ye shall beware of the leavens of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? Do you not understand what I'm trying to tell you? Is what he's trying to say. Do you not? Well, apparently no, they didn't, did they? All right, Jesus, I know we've been following you around for a little while now, and you've been doing all these miracles and teaching us everything, but we still don't understand. Hey, I'm that way. I've read this Bible all the way through more than once, and I still don't understand it. Because I've heard it preached and I've heard it said that if he would all of a sudden open our mind up to the understanding of it all at once, our little minds couldn't take it. So each time we read something, we get something different out of it. Because we're in different stages in our lives. The things that I would have read 30 years ago and understood it, I read it now, I understand it differently. Because as a younger person, when I'm trying to get my family raised and you're stressed out about all of that and the money and all the things that goes along with that, it's different than the things that is different than in my life today, when now I get to go play with the grandkids and I don't have to worry about it. So our understanding of things also changes. I can remember, and I've told y'all, I was short-tempered and blowed up pretty easy. I don't do that nearly as much now. Still do it sometimes, but not as much, not as often.
Still working on it.
Yeah. So the things that we see different in the different places in our lives, the Bible is different to it. So that's what he's trying to tell his disciples here. They didn't understand it, and they were walking with how are we to understand all of it? Well, we need to pray and try. He said, then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He was using something that was earthly to explain something heavenly. They understood leaven and bread because that's part of their, bread was life to them. The women baked bread every day for them to eat. It was important. It's how they lived. It was one of the biggest parts of their diet was bread. So using the bread as a metaphor of something that they understand, hey, don't pay attention to what they're telling you to eat and what they're trying to do. Pay attention to what they're trying to teach you. Now, when Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked the disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? Who does men say that I am? Now, one of the things you need to understand is that this town that he was in was a Greek town. He had left the area that was under Roman control. It's the same place, it's the same thing happened back in chapter 15 when he ran into the lady that had an issue with her daughter. He had left Herod's area of control, but he went into a Greek country. He had left that area to get away from either the crowds and all the people, but still his fame and his name was known, so they continued into it. Now, but these was about 150 miles north of Jerusalem is where he had traveled to, and it was an area that was at the foothill of Mount Hermon. Now, Mount Hermon was an area that was controlled by other gods. They had a lot of temples in that area to their gods. It is also an area where they sacrifice their children. Their firstborn was where they would. So he is standing here in this area, and before this, and it's actually a huge temple that's there. And in this temple area, outside the wall, there was this big cave. And you can look all this up, and I've seen pictures of it, you can look it up online. And there was a big cave that had water in it, and it had a big rock that was out that the water surrounded, and it was flat like a table. And it was that area, that is where they sacrificed their firstborn child. And they called the place the gates of hell. So here's Jesus bringing his disciples up, and they said that the smell of that was there for a long time. It's such a smell, and the stench was just unbearable. But when you entered into the gates of the big temple and stuff, there was a big, beautiful city inside. And this was the outside entrance into that. But he asked them here as he was standing there, who does men say that the Son of Man am? Who does people say that I am? Jesus. And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elijah, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. You know, there were so many that was around there that followed after Jesus that just didn't believe that he was the Messiah, because they had already been taught through these Pharisees and through the Sadducees, and they all believed that when the Messiah come, that he was going to rescue them from the Romans, and that he was going to establish his kingdom here on earth, and he would run all the invaders and all of their adversaries out, and he would set up, and they would be a great nation once again. So when Jesus didn't come in that format, or in what they had expected or thought that he would, they did not think that he was the Messiah. They saw the miracles he did. They saw all the teachings he had. He taught like no others, and the authority that he had. Even the ones at Nicodemus, when he come to him and said, we know that thou art a great teacher. You see, they thought he was a teacher or one of the prophets. But he said unto them, but whom do say ye that I am? Who do you say that I am? He's talking to his disciples. And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered and said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. Peter knew who he was, didn't he? He was bold about it. And I say unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. And listen to this. Where did I tell you he was standing when he was doing this, asking these questions? And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. He was telling them that all of the false doctrine, all of the false gods, all of the things that this world has offered to replace him is not going to stand against him. Even death is not going to stand against what he established. Nothing is going to stand against it. And I will give thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind in earth shall bind in heaven. And whatsoever shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. What does that mean? If you accept him into your life, and you walk with him, you follow after him, when you die, that's going to be accepted. If you reject him here on earth and turn your back on him and refuse to acknowledge that he's the Son of God, then that's going to be the same way you're going to go into death. Isn't that a scary thought? Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. They understand him to be Jesus, and he called himself the Son of Man. But he never said that he was the Messiah until Peter acknowledged who he was. Don't go tell everybody. They wouldn't believe if you did anyway.
Well, we hadn't seen a whole lot of faith from the higher ups and the Pharisees.
You've seen more faith from some of the Gentiles than you did of his own people. What did he tell about the lady that was in last week's lesson? It's through her faith. He had never seen such faith. He says, and from that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go into Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and of chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again on the third day. Now that they understand who he is, and he's now told them who he is, now he's going to explain the rest of it. We're going to go back to Jerusalem. See, they had just fled from that area. Now we're going to go back. Now that you understand and you see what's going on, we've got to go back. We're going to suffer. A lot of things are going to happen. He's going to die and be raised again on the third day. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Lord. This shall not be unto thee. Lord, you just showed us all this stuff, and we've been with you, and you're going to die? How are you going to set up your kingdom if you're going to die? But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men. Think about that for a minute. Sometimes the things that God asks us to do, we're afraid to do. I'm going to tell you what, I was scared to death to think of to preach a message. I still get nervous when I have to sing. Boy, that singing scares me more than the preaching does. That's why sometimes when I start songs off, I don't sound very good until I get a few words into it. Then I can try to calm the nerves a little bit. See, some of the things he tells, go talk to somebody. That's pretty scary, isn't it? It is. It's scary to go talk to people. Especially when you know that they're living in sin and the things that they're doing is not right. It's hard to go to somebody and say, and to tell them, hey, I love you, but I don't like what you're doing. You're going against what God says. And if you was to die and go out of this world, you may go to hell. I mean, that's a hard thing to tell somebody. You don't have to use those words, but I was talking to somebody the other day, a preacher. And he said, I know some of the worst people in my community, and I invited them out to church. He said, when I told them at church, they kind of gasped a little bit. Well, don't you know who they are? Yeah, I know exactly who they are. They're living in sin. They're doing things wrong. They're not doing what they should. But isn't this where they should be? Invite them into the church. Tell them to come in here and sit. Let me worry about giving them the message of what they're doing maybe not right. Because sometimes it's scary to have to go tell people. And then we don't want to do it, and it's kind of like Peter here. Lord, don't do that. I mean, you're our teacher. You're our master. Don't go back in there. They're going to kill you. Well, see, sometimes we don't know what God's plan is, do we?
Still thinking about it carnally, he was supposed to be the Messiah and Lord. Have his armies deliver Israel, all that stuff. That's what he was looking at.
That was his physical. But in our own minds sometimes, when we think God's telling us to do something, we look at what might happen to us, and instead of thinking of the good that may come out of it. I know Daniel and them's having this revival up there. Daniel Tanner, he's the one that's holding it, preaching. It's up to his place. And I know I've spoke with Daniel before about having revivals. You know, and a lot of churches has a spring revival or a fall revival every year. But he said he doesn't like to schedule them. He said when the Lord tells him it's time to do one, that's when he does one. He doesn't want to just schedule one every year and you know, nothing happens. You got to wait till the Spirit leads it. And by doing so, it's scary to do things, to step out and do things. But the reward can be great if we do it in God's way and in God's time. That's what Peter was thinking. Then said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Isn't that scary? To deny himself. In other words, don't do what you want to do. Do what I want you to do.
They knew what a cross meant.
Yes, you see, Jesus hadn't died on the cross yet, but all of them knew that that's what the Romans used as a means of death. For whosoever shall save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall find it. Boy, it's a little confusing, isn't it? If you do everything down here on earth to save your life and to do what the world wants you to do, to keep from harm coming to you, to keep from having danger or keep from getting hurt, you may miss the boat. Because when you do things for God and when you do things for His Son and led by the Spirit, there is a good possibility that harm may come to you. Either physical or emotional or spiritual of some kind of. Folks, we don't like it when people talks about us or makes fun of us and calls us names. We don't like those kind of things. But if you follow after Him, it can happen, and it's going to happen. There are people in this world that are losing their lives because they stand for God. But if you lose it for His sake, boy, your reward will be great in heaven. For what is a man profit if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? That's a question he's asking them. And what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You can get all the riches of this world, but you're going to go out of this world the same way you come in it with nothing. Gathering it up and storing it and keeping it and doing all those things. Folks, there's nothing wrong with preparing for retirement or preparing and putting money aside. But if that's all that you got in your mind is to make money and do that and leave God out of it, you profit nothing. But if you shall give in exchange for his soul. What would you give? You don't have to give nothing for it. It's free. For the Son of Man shall come in his glory of his Father with his angels. And then he shall reward every man according to his works. Now, a lot of people think, that you have to earn your way into heaven for all the works. I heard a lady here, I don't know if it was a lady, I can't remember. I hear so many of them, was speaking to these, and they were talking to Muslim women. And I remember it was Muslim women they were talking to, and asked them, if they die, how do you know you're going to heaven? And all of them talked about being Muslim is the work you do, the work you do for your community, the work you do for your family. And they said that's not how it works in Christianity. You got to accept the free gift of his salvation. Now, once you accept it, there's work to be done, because he tells us in his great commission to go out and spread his word wherever we go. He gives you a work to do, and I was telling them that last night over there. And that was one of the topics they were talking about, is what work does God have for you to do? Sometimes that is a hard thing to determine. What is the work that God has for you to do? And the most hard part about that is, the hardest thing there is of it, is once you figure it out, is stepping out on faith and going and doing that work that he has given you. Because he says here that you will reward every man according to his works. What are you going to do with this man named Jesus? Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. That's a pretty strong statement there, isn't it? He's talking to his disciples. He's telling them that he will be crucified. And all of them's going to taste death at some point or the other, just as we are. Either through the grave or through the resurrection. I hope y'all got something out of it. Since I even forgot to study and didn't know to study it. All right.